All rise, Aaron Sorkin's To Kill a Mockingbird is back on Broadway and bringing audiences to their feet 8 times a week. And Celia Keenan-Bolger has returned to her role as Scout Finch. Paul Wontorek caught up with Celia to take a walk through her Tony Award-winning career.
That's right, Tamsin. Celia Keenan-Bolger did win a 2019 Tony Award for her portrayal of Scout Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird, but she actually won the hearts of theater fans in many other performances over the years. Am I right or am I right?
Are you right? You're right.
You're right. I'm right. So you got your walking shoes on. I see some,
you got
some fancy boots.
Is this what we call walking shoes?
Let's go walk through your resume, shall we? Okay, so here we are at Circle in the Square Theater. Not the Gershwin, which is right next door. You were not in Wicked.
I wasn't, but do you know that when you were in the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, you got all of the spillover of the lottery losers from Wicked, which I think is how we maintained a robust initial audience where people were like, the 25th what? I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
But all the Wicked lottery people, of which there were hundreds, were like, well, that's a show. Let's go see that. And then people were like, wait, that show's kind of good.
And you played Olive.
Yes.
You were, how old was Olive?
She was like 11 or 12.
She was a little girl.
That's right.
She had
She had absent parents.
Her parents really put a lot of pressure on her.
Yep, and then didn't show up.
She sang a really beautiful song.
Yes.
Yes.
That Bill Finn wrote when we were performing in a lunchroom at Barrington Stage Company.
Right, because it started up in the Berkshires,
Yep.
a little show.
Yes.
Did not necessarily have Broadway on, you know, on the plan.
No.
But it brought you to Broadway. Your Broadway debut happened here.
That's right.
So what was that girl like, Celia Keenan-Bolger, who made her Broadway debut in this theater, who walked in these doors?
I mean, I think she was really, she couldn't quite believe her life. It was actually the perfect scrappy beginnings. It felt like the show. It felt like this little underdog, and the people, I mean, to this day, people that saw that show are like, I loved that show.
It's the Brooks Atkinson Theater. You were in another fantastic show in this theater, with another show that I know means a lot to you.
Yes.
What was that show?
Peter and the Starcatcher, or as we called it, Starcatcher.
You were the only gal on that stage.
That's right. I learned so much about male dynamics on that job. It was the first time I ever had my own dressing room, so that was a big deal. And I had this big couch, and I feel like the guys would just come in and they would start talking, and then they would lie down and they would tell me their problems, and it was the best. I loved that so much. And I will say, I think Peter and the Starcatcher is the show more than any other thing that I've done. When I'm like signing at the stage door, or when we used to be able to do that, where they're like, my favorite show I've ever seen is Peter and the Starcatcher.
Wow. This is the booth theater. This is a jewel box theater.
That's right.
Which means what? Intimate and lovely.
And the best. I think this is my favorite theater that I've ever performed in, my favorite Broadway theater, because you feel like you're on Broadway, but you're like, I can see the eyeballs of the people in that mezzanine.
Yeah, and you were in the Glass Menagerie, such a beautiful production. There have been many Glass Menageries on Broadway.
Sure.
It's kind of a running joke. There have been many, but you were in this beautiful, beautiful production. Talk about it.
That was one of those where I got, you know, my agent sent me, like, they were like, we have an appointment for you for the Glass Menagerie, and I was like, that old dusty play? I don't need to see that or be in that. And then I was like, but I should read it. And I finished it, and I remember saying to my husband, John, I was like, John, the Glass Menagerie is a very beautiful play. And then I went and auditioned for it, did the callback with Brian J. Smith, who had already been cast as the gentleman caller. Okay. I had like 6 pages of that gentleman caller.
You were the last one in the family.
Yes.
You were the last one in.
That's right. Just like knocking on the door. And I had the script, I had prepared my like 6 pages, and we ended up doing the entire scene. And this is a proud moment. I did make John, Tiffany, and Jim Carnahan cry, where I was like, well, if I don't get the job, at least I made them feel sad.
One show more.
Look at you.
Broadhurst.
That's right.
You were in Les Miserables, famously playing, according to your IMDb, whore.
Correct.
And Eponine.
That's right. You, as Eponine, you get to play like 5 parts before you change into your Eponine costume.
The iconic Eponine costume with the trench.
That's
and
right. And a sensible belt.
Yeah, and you get to sing this gorgeous got to sing this gorgeous song on my own.
That's right.
Another tear. You make people cry. This is sort of like one of your things.
That show was so, I mean, that was one of those moments where I felt like, because I had been so obsessed, I'm of a generation where like Les Mis and Phantom were like the shows. Yeah. I remember just being like, if the 10-year-old version of myself knew that I was gonna be Eponine in Les Miserables, I would have lied down dead. And of course, like there were all these little ones in that show, like the little Cosettes, and they didn't know me, they didn't know anything about me, but they were like, we love you because we love Eponine. And I was like, shoot, there's just something about Eponine.
Okay, Celia, we are on 42nd Street. This is the heart of Old Times Square, right?
That's right.
Very active block.
That's right.
What did you do with the American Airlines?
I did the Cherry Orchard.
The Cherry Orchard, that's Chekhov, right?
Adapted
that's a
by,
fancy show.
It felt like that too. I was like, if I could be in a Chekhov play, that seems like a pretty exciting thing. I had also just had a baby. This was the first Broadway show I did back post like child. Yeah. I think after having my son, I was like, I would like an experience that both like sort of takes me out of my comfort zone and where I am reflected for the age that I actually am.
You played a lot of kids.
Yeah. But not on this show. No kids in the Cherry Orchard.
So here we are finally. This is your current Broadway home, the Shubert Theater with the best front of house.
Come on.
Post-pandemic, you're back.
Yeah.
How are you feeling up there?
Oh my gosh. I mean, that first day back in the Shubert Theater, like I left in November, so a lot of time had gone by. And being back, like seeing all of those guys, I was just like, oh my gosh. And also that theater, I mean, that is like the gold standard of Broadway theaters. Yeah. And looking out, I was just like flooded with the idea of being in a room with like 1,400 strangers. Yeah. So that was unbelievably, and also returning to something that I had known so well and then having sort of processed it in this new way, it felt like a real homecoming.
How does it feel to like think back on this career and to walk these streets again? And
you know, I was thinking about this when you reached out to do this, and I was like, you know, when you're in college, you have a dream to just make it to Broadway. Like if I could just get in a Broadway show, that would be it. And then to like go to all of these theaters is incredibly moving to me.
Many more to come.
I hope, right?
I can't wait.
Yeah, same.